I thought I was giving my niece the gift of education when I transferred $15,000 to my sister Sarah for Madison's college tuition. Madison was 17, brilliant, and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. Sarah was struggling as a single mom working part-time at a grocery store after her divorce. I believed I was investing in Madison's future, helping her break the cycle of financial struggle our family had known for generations. The warmth I felt imagining Madison in veterinary school made every dollar worth it. What I discovered about where that money actually went would shatter my trust in family forever. Before we dive into this story, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button if you have ever helped a family member achieve their dreams, and do not forget to subscribe because trust me, you will want to hear how this situation unfolded. Have you ever had someone completely betray your generosity? Share your thoughts as we explore what happens when family takes advantage of your good intentions. Madison had always been exceptional. Since middle school, she maintained a 4.0 grade average while volunteering 15 hours per week at the local animal shelter. Her bedroom walls were covered with veterinary college brochures and pictures of animals she had helped nurse back to health. When she talked about her future, her eyes would light up with the kind of passion that made you believe she could accomplish anything. Sarah, my older sister by 3 years, had been raising Madison alone since her husband walked out when Madison was 12. The divorce left them in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment with Sarah working 25 hours per week at Kroger because that was all the childcare schedule would allow. I watched them struggle for years, Madison wearing second-hand clothes, and Sarah skipping meals so her daughter could have lunch money. Despite their circumstances, Madison never complained and somehow maintained her academic excellence. My career as a financial analyst had been good to me. At 32, I owned a 3-bedroom house in a nice suburb, drove a reliable car, and had built substantial savings. I never married and had no children of my own, which left me with disposable income and a desire to invest in the next generation. When Madison started her senior year of high school, I knew her dreams of veterinary college would be impossible without financial help. The conversation with Sarah happened on a rainy Tuesday evening in October. I had invited them for dinner to discuss Madison's college plans. As we sat around my dining room table, Madison excitedly showed me acceptance letters from 3 universities with strong pre-veterinary programs. Her face fell when she started discussing costs. "Tuition alone is $15,000 per year," Madison said quietly. "That does not include books, lab fees, or living expenses." Sarah stared at her plate, clearly overwhelmed. "We will figure something out, honey. Maybe you could work part-time and take fewer classes each semester." That was when I made my offer. "What if I covered your first-year tuition completely, $15,000, so you can focus on your studies instead of working?" The silence that followed felt eternal. Madison looked stunned, then tears began streaming down her face. Sarah seemed genuinely shocked by the generosity. "Julia, that is incredibly generous, but we could not possibly accept that much money," Sarah said. "Yes, you can," I replied firmly. "Madison deserves this opportunity. I want to invest in her future." Madison threw her arms around me, sobbing with gratitude. "Aunt Julia, I promise I will make you proud. I will work harder than anyone else in my program." Sarah and I spent the following week working out details. I researched veterinary programs at Madison's preferred schools, calculated exact tuition costs, and established clear parameters for the money's use. The $15,000 would cover tuition-required textbooks and laboratory fees for Madison's freshman year. We agreed that any remaining funds would roll over to sophomore year expenses. On a Friday morning in early November, I initiated the wire transfer from my savings account to Sarah's checking account. The memo line read, "Madison's College Fund," and I felt profound satisfaction watching the transaction process. That evening, I called them with the good news. "The money is in your account," I announced. "Madison, you can officially accept your spot at State University's pre-veterinary program." Madison screamed with joy in the background while Sarah thanked me repeatedly. "I cannot believe you are doing this for us, Julia. Madison will have opportunities I never dreamed possible." We celebrated that weekend with a family dinner at their favorite restaurant. Madison could not stop talking about her course schedule professors she hoped to work with and animals she would learn to help. Sarah seemed genuinely grateful and promised to manage the money responsibly until tuition payments were due in January. For 2 weeks, everything felt perfect. I had given my niece a pathway to success, and our family was closer than it had been in years. Madison called me almost daily with updates about orientation materials and housing applications. Sarah sent regular text messages thanking me and sharing Madison's excitement about her upcoming college experience. Then I noticed the first red flag. Sarah posted a photo on Instagram showing off a brand new Louis Vuitton handbag. The caption read, "Treating myself for once," with several heart emojis. The bag looked expensive, probably $800 to $1,000 based on my knowledge of designer accessories. Sarah had never owned anything remotely that costly before. When I mentioned the purchase casually during our next phone call, Sarah became defensive. "I saved up birthday money and bought it secondhand," she explained quickly. "Madison said I deserved something nice after everything we have been through." The explanation felt off, but I convinced myself not to be suspicious. Sarah had been through a difficult divorce and worked hard to support Madison. Maybe she had found a good deal on a used bag. However, Madison mentioned something during our conversation the following Tuesday that made my stomach drop. "Mom suddenly has extra money for things," Madison said innocently. "She bought new sheets for her bedroom and said we might be able to afford a small vacation this winter." I told her we should probably focus on college expenses, but she said there was plenty of money for both. A vacation. My $15,000 was supposed to last Madison through her entire freshman year, covering not just tuition but books and fees. If Sarah was planning vacations, where did that money come from? I tried to push down my growing anxiety and called Sarah that evening to ask about Madison's college application timeline. "How are the tuition payments structured?" I asked. "Do we need to submit anything before January?" Sarah's response was vague and evasive. "I am still researching the exact deadlines. The financial aid office said there might be some flexibility with payment schedules." "What kind of flexibility?" I pressed. "Julia, I have everything under control. Madison will be ready for college when the time comes." Something in her tone made me uncomfortable, but I did not want to accuse my sister without more evidence. That night I made the mistake of checking Sarah's Facebook page. The photos I found made my blood run cold. Over the next 3 weeks, Sarah's social media activity painted a picture that made me physically ill. There were photos of expensive dinners at restaurants I knew cost $60 per person. Pictures of new furniture being delivered to their apartment. Most disturbing was a spa day photo where Sarah posed with cucumber slices over her eyes, captioned, "Self-Care Sunday at Serenity Spa." I researched Serenity Spa online. Their basic packages started at $250. My anxiety reached a breaking point when Madison called me on a Thursday evening with devastating news. "Aunt Julia, I think there might be some confusion about my college money," Madison said hesitantly. "Mom booked us a trip to Hawaii for December, and when I asked if we could afford it, she said you gave us extra money for family expenses too." Hawaii. My hands were shaking as I asked for details. "She found this amazing deal on flights and a resort in Maui, 5 nights at a really nice place right on the beach. Mom's boyfriend Derek is coming with us, and she said we all deserve a break before I start college." After hanging up, I immediately researched flight costs to Hawaii in December. Round-trip tickets from our city to Maui averaged $1,400 per person. For 3 people, that was $4,200 just in airfare. I spent the evening researching resorts in Maui and found the property Sarah had mentioned on her Instagram story. The Hyatt Regency Maui Resort and Spa charged $850 per night during December peak season. 5 nights would cost $4,250. The math was devastating. Sarah was spending over $8,000 on a vacation using money I had given specifically for Madison's education. I called Sarah the next morning determined to stay calm but get answers. "I heard about your Hawaii trip," I said carefully. "That sounds like an expensive vacation." "Madison works so hard, Julia. She deserves a break before college starts. We all need some family time." Sarah, that money was specifically designated for Madison's education, tuition, books, and academic expenses only. There is still plenty left for college, Sarah replied dismissively. Madison might qualify for scholarships anyway, so this money could last even longer. How much money is left in the account? I asked directly. Sarah paused. I do not have to give you an itemized breakdown, Julia. I am Madison's mother, and I know what is best for her. I need to see bank statements showing how the $15,000 has been allocated. Absolutely not. I am not going to be micromanaged about money that is in my account. It is in your account, but it was given with specific conditions. Well, those conditions were not legally binding. I can spend money in my account however I see fit. The conversation was spiraling toward disaster, but I needed concrete information. Sarah, please just tell me honestly, how much of the $15,000 is still available for Madison's tuition? Enough, she snapped. And if there is not enough, you can always give us more money later. You obviously have plenty. That response told me everything I needed to know. Sarah had spent my money on vacations and luxury purchases, gambling, that I would cover Madison's college costs regardless. I am coming over tonight, I announced. We need to discuss this in person. Do not bother. I do not owe you any explanations. She hung up on me, leaving me staring at my phone in disbelief. That evening I drove to Sarah's apartment complex and sat in my car for 20 minutes trying to control my rage. Through their living room window, I could see new furniture that had not been there during our dinner celebration 6 weeks earlier. A large flat-screen television hung on the wall where an old 13-inch model used to sit. I was looking at thousands of dollars in new purchases, all funded by money intended for Madison's education. Saturday morning brought the revelation that would destroy any remaining trust between Sarah and me. Madison sent me a text message that made my heart break. Aunt Julia, I am confused about college application deadlines. When I ask Mom about submitting paperwork, she keeps saying there is plenty of time. But my guidance counselor says some deadlines are next month. Could you help me figure out the timeline? I called Madison immediately, and what she told me was devastating. Mom said you changed your mind about paying for college, Madison explained quietly. She told me you decided it was too much money and that I need to find other options. I have been working extra shifts at the pet store trying to save money for application fees. My sister had been lying to both of us. She told me the money was still available for college while telling Madison that I had withdrawn my support. Madison had been working additional hours believing she needed to fund her own education, while Sarah spent my money on vacations and luxuries. Madison, I never changed my mind about supporting your education, I said firmly. Your mother has not been honest with either of us about how that money has been used. What do you mean? I explained about the Hawaii vacation, the expensive purchases, and Sarah's refusal to show me bank statements. Madison was quiet for several minutes. Aunt Julia, Mom told me the Hawaii trip was a surprise gift from Derek's family. She never said it was paid for with college money. Madison innocently shared photos from their Hawaii trip planning, including resort confirmation emails forwarded from Sarah's account. The total cost was exactly what I had calculated, over $8,000. I need to come over and talk to your mother immediately, I told Madison. She is not here right now. She and Derek went shopping for vacation clothes, shopping for more expensive items while Madison worked extra shifts believing her college fund had disappeared. I drove straight to Sarah's apartment and waited in the parking lot until they returned. When Sarah's car pulled up, I watched Derek and Sarah unload shopping bags from Nordstrom and Macy's, designer clothing purchases that probably cost hundreds more dollars. I approached them as they headed toward the building entrance. Sarah, we need to talk right now. Derek immediately tensed up, sensing confrontation. Sarah looked annoyed but not surprised to see me. Julia, what are you doing here? I know about the lies, I said firmly. Madison thinks I withdrew my support for her college fund while you have been spending my money on vacations and shopping sprees. Lower your voice, Sarah hissed, glancing around to see if neighbors were watching. Show me bank statements proving how much money remains for Madison's education. I already told you I do not owe you financial reports. Derek stepped forward. This is between family members, lady. You need to back off. Derek, this has nothing to do with you, I replied sharply. It has everything to do with me when you are harassing my girlfriend. Sarah seemed emboldened by Derek's support. Julia, you gave me money as a gift. What I do with gifts is my business. I gave you money specifically designated for Madison's education, and you know it. You never made me sign any legal documents about how to spend it. I realized that arguing about the original agreement was pointless. Sarah was going to deny and deflect regardless of evidence. It was time for direct action. Fine, I said, pulling out my phone. But Madison deserves to know the truth about what happened to her college fund. I called Madison while standing directly in front of Sarah and Derek. Madison, I am here with your mother, and I want to explain exactly what happened to the $15,000 I gave for your education. Julia, hang up that phone right now, Sarah demanded. In November, I transferred $15,000 to your mother with explicit instructions that it was for your tuition books and educational expenses only. Sarah tried to grab my phone, but I stepped back and continued talking. Your mother spent over $8,000 of that money on a Hawaii vacation. She bought expensive furniture, designer clothing, and luxury items. When I asked to see bank statements proving money was still available for your education, she refused. You have no right to discuss my finances with my daughter, Sarah screamed. Derek moved toward me aggressively. You need to leave now or I am calling the police. Call them, I replied calmly. I would love to explain to police officers how $15,000 designated for a teenager's education was stolen for adult vacations. Madison's voice came through my phone speaker. Aunt Julia, I am coming home right now. Madison, do not listen to your aunt, Sarah yelled toward my phone. She is trying to control our family and cause problems. Within 15 minutes, Madison arrived home to find the three of us standing in the parking lot with several neighbors watching from their windows. Madison looked at the shopping bags, then at Sarah's expression, then at me. Mom, is it true? Did you spend my college money on the Hawaii trip? Sarah's face softened as she tried to manipulate Madison's emotions. Sweetie, your aunt is exaggerating. There is still money available for college. I just wanted our family to have one nice vacation before you leave for school. Madison looked directly at me. Aunt Julia, how much money is left for college? I had been calculating this question for weeks. Based on your mother's purchases, that I can verify probably $3,000 to $4,000 at most. Madison's face went white. But tuition alone is $15,000. Sarah grabbed Madison's arm. We will figure it out, honey. Your aunt can afford to give us more money if needed. That statement proved Sarah had been planning to manipulate me into additional payments all along. Madison shook off her mother's grip and stared at her in disbelief. Mom, how could you steal money that was meant for my education? I did not steal anything, Sarah protested. That money was legally mine once it was in my account. Madison turned to walk toward the building, then stopped and looked back. You let me believe Aunt Julia had changed her mind about helping me. I have been working 60 hours per week thinking I had to pay for college myself. Meanwhile, you were spending my education money on vacations. Madison, please understand. No, Mom. What I understand is that you lied to both of us and stole my future. Madison disappeared into the building, leaving Sarah, Derek, and me standing in uncomfortable silence. Derek finally spoke. This family drama is insane. I am out of here. He got in his car and drove away, leaving Sarah alone to face the consequences of her choices. Sunday morning, I received a text message from Madison asking if she could stay at my house for a few days. When I picked her up, she had packed a small suitcase and looked emotionally exhausted. I cannot look at Mom right now, Madison said as we drove to my house. She spent all night trying to convince me that you were being unreasonable and that families should not fight over money. What do you want to do about college? I asked gently. I want to go more than anything, but I cannot ask you for another $15,000. That would not be fair. That afternoon, I contacted my attorney to understand legal options for recovering misused funds. The lawyer explained that while I could potentially pursue civil action for designated fund misuse, it would be expensive and time-consuming with uncertain outcomes. However, there were other approaches available. Monday morning, I opened a new savings account specifically for Madison's education expenses. I contacted the financial aid office at Madison's chosen university and explained our situation. The counselor was surprisingly understanding and helped us apply for emergency financial assistance and additional scholarship opportunities. I also prepared a formal letter for Sarah delivered by certified mail, demanding full repayment of the $15,000 within 60 days. The letter outlined legal consequences for failure to repay designated educational funds and included documentation of every purchase I could verify. Sarah called me that evening furious about the legal letter. "You are seriously threatening to sue your own sister over money. I am demanding that you repay money you stole from your daughter's education fund. I did not steal anything. You gave me that money willingly. For specific educational purposes which you violated. Now Madison cannot afford college because of your selfishness. Fine, you want to play hardball. Madison can live with the consequences of your vindictive behavior." Madison is living with the consequences of your behavior, Sarah. I am trying to fix the damage you caused. The legal pressure, combined with family members learning the truth about what Sarah had done, gradually forced her to face reality. Derek had already distanced himself when he realized legal trouble was possible. Extended family members started asking Sarah uncomfortable questions about Madison's college situation. Within 3 weeks, Sarah agreed to a repayment plan. She sold the expensive furniture back to the store, returned unused items from her shopping sprees, and committed to paying $500 per month until the debt was satisfied. It would take 30 months for full repayment, but Madison could start college with proper funding secured through my direct payments to the university. The relationship between Sarah and me suffered permanent damage. We speak only when necessary and maintain polite distance during family gatherings. Derek disappeared from their lives entirely once the situation became legally complicated. Madison moved back home after 2 weeks, but maintained strong boundaries with Sarah. She refused to participate in any activities funded by money that should have gone toward education. Most importantly, Madison started college that following fall with full financial support, provided through proper channels. I paid tuition directly to the university, purchased textbooks through the campus bookstore, and established a separate account for her educational expenses that only she and I could access. Watching Madison excel in her pre-veterinary coursework made every dollar worth spending. She maintained her 4.0 grade average and secured a summer internship at a veterinary research facility after her freshman year. The betrayal taught me valuable lessons about family boundaries and the importance of protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Sometimes loving someone means standing up to other family members who would exploit their vulnerability. I learned that trust once broken by selfishness and manipulation requires years to rebuild. Sarah eventually acknowledged the damage she had caused, but her apologies came only after legal and social pressure forced her to face consequences. Madison and I developed a stronger relationship based on honesty and mutual respect. She understood that I had fought for her future when her own mother was willing to sacrifice it for temporary luxuries. The most important lesson was recognizing that good intentions must be protected by clear boundaries. When helping family members, especially with significant financial support, legal documentation, and direct oversight prevent well-meaning assistance from being exploited. Sarah's choices damaged not only my trust, but also Madison's faith in family loyalty. However, Madison learned early that some people will choose personal gratification over their children's futures, and that knowledge, while painful, prepared her for adult relationships built on honesty rather than manipulation. 3 years later, Madison is thriving in veterinary school, funded through proper channels and her own hard-earned scholarships. Sarah completed her repayment plan and has maintained steady employment, but our relationship remains cordial rather than close. The experience taught me that protecting someone's future sometimes requires fighting battles they cannot win themselves. Love does not mean enabling destructive behavior even from those closest to us. Have you ever had to choose between family peace and doing what was right for someone who could not protect themselves? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences about family boundaries and standing up for what matters most. Share this video with anyone who might need encouragement to protect their loved ones from exploitation. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's harmful choices, even when it comes at personal cost.